What are the features that we've added to the model? So it's a lot of like, if you understand the semantics of sort of how machine learning works, you can ask the questions that will get the machine learning people to sort of like the right switch will flip and they'll be like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. Oh, I'll consider that. But it's more like I've learned enough about machine learning to know the kinds of questions that a machine learning team or engineers need to have answers to in order to produce really good work. And I have a really strong technical partner at Slack right now. We just hired a new head of machine learning. So it's also working with him to sort of like pick his brain on what he's excited about. But we're not, I think this is true of a lot of companies. Machine learning is very intimidating, just seemingly. But the truth is a lot of machine learning today is off-the-shelf open source stuff. And it all has really, really good documentation. And so it's pretty easy to produce something like a Netflix recommendation model or something like a, you bought this, so you'd also buy this model. Those are pretty solved problems. And so if you're operating inside of that space, there's literature that you can read. And you don't need to be like a genius at statistics to be able to build good products with machine learning. Yeah? In the front.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for your talk. I loved everything you said. I have two questions as well. The first is around your process for building product. You say you like to grab people, talk to customer experience, like be curious. Is that actually part of your process, or are you like running around like you're personally talking to people?
Mm-hmm.
And then my second question is, it seems like you had great people around you as well. So, as much as you advocate for yourself, how much do you attribute your success to managers and leadership supporting you?
Totally. So the first question, yes, I do run around and talk to people. I manage people more than I actually like build products as an individual contributor now. So a lot of what I'm doing is having conversations and then connecting people with the product people on my team. I actually just redid the product development process at Slack to account for specifically like these phases. So their discovery, where you're like trying to figure out the problem space as much as possible and having lots of those early conversations with people. You're also talking to the technical team and understanding like what's sort of the underlying code there. How does it operate today? You're working with user research to get like a dump of like everything that's ever happened before. I like this activity called question storming, where you just get all of the stakeholders in a room and everybody starts throwing out the questions that they need answers to. And the way I like to frame that is like, what do we need to know in order for this product to be successful? Like, what are the things that we need to validate as assumptions? And then you go from there into definition, which is sort of like A/B testing, user research, where you're actually doing like more strict usability testing, or even concepting paper prototypes, provocations. I really strongly believe in mixed methods. Like I think you have to have quant, you have to have qual. You also need really good designers and engineers who can bring creativity to the problem. And then the next is delivery, which is really about productionizing everything, going back to the security team and the legal team. And once you've settled on a solution, sort of just like making sure you fulfill all of the business requirements. And the last one is refinement, because you never did it totally right the first time. So you have to keep investing and take what you learned. And remind me what the second question, just like quick, was? Leadership. Oh, yeah. I couldn't have done anything without other people. I mean, if I didn't have managers who would listen to me or, really care about me and advocate for me, I would, like, I always used to say, like, if Kruthi hadn't, like, helped me to become a product manager, there's no way I would have been at Etsy for 7 years. Are you kidding me? Answering customer support emails, horrible, disaster. Like, not a thing that would be okay for me. I'm a very impatient person and I need lots of change. So it was really having not just my manager, but really, truly, like, people across the organization that could understand that I was like capable of doing more than what I was doing at really like every single step. And that's been true at Slack as well. And I think especially having those really strong cross-functional relationships, like not just like being tight with all the other product managers in your organization, but like if the legal guy is like, oh my God, I love working with Jamie, she's great. And then I go to like the person who's in like leading customer support, and it's like Jamie always like gets customer support feedback on everything. Like those things matter. And especially as you get higher up in organizations, they matter more and more. And one person who did not have a great experience with you or really doesn't like you, it doesn't make your job impossible, but it just makes it a lot harder. So coming with genuine curiosity, I think people can also tell when you have genuine curiosity and actually care about their problem versus like, you're like, hi, this is the legal thing, so what am I supposed to do here? Like that, they can tell.
Hey.
Hi.
So as a non-technical project manager, or product manager, sorry.
It's okay.
You manage people who are probably kind of smarter than you in a technical sense.
Oh no, they're
right?
not smarter than me. They just know more about computers than me.
Right, exactly. So you have the business sense, they might have the technical sense.
Yeah.
How do you keep that, how do you earn their respect to the point where, you don't enter the room and say, we're going to cure cancer, this is our next project. How do you kind of keep something realistic, but also manage that cynicism, I guess, of the engineers?
I mean, I think you have to talk to them about what they do well. You have to, if you want them to treat you like an expert, you have to treat them like experts. And I think coming to them with questions that really allow them to demonstrate their expertise is very helpful. I think there's a fine line there where you also don't want to seem stupid. So you don't want to sort of be like, I don't know, you're the tech person, you do it. So it's really more about like, this is what I want to, saying something like, this is what I want to do, this is where I think we could go. I need you to help me understand how it could be possible, if it's possible. Like, I don't know what's hard or what's easy. So like, can you walk me through the code here? Like, just tell me a little bit about how the system works. And like giving them a platform to talk about what they're really, really good at, then makes it easier for you to come in later and sort of like shape it. And you're talking with their language, right? So instead of being like, we're gonna cure cancer, you're like, okay, so I think, there's a lot of, like we've been talking a lot about machine learning. There's a lot of machine learning cancer startups. If you go to a machine learning person and you start to engage them in the problem space of what you're trying to do, give them a lot of the same information that you have that you're using to make those decisions, they will engage with that and create much better outcomes. And that's also a way of getting respect, right? So you're not just coming in and saying like, do this, do that. You're saying like, I read all this stuff, here's all the stuff I read. Like you basically like, I don't know. The way I try to think about it as, I want to lead them along the path in a way where they arrive at the same decision, and now we all just have the same decision. I didn't make the decision, that's just the decision that the team has. And like, if it comes down to it, I'll disagree and definitely make a different decision if we need to. But in the best case scenario, you can set it up in such a way that like, through that whole process, everybody's just on the same page. You've laid out the problem so well that like, no other option is like possible. Or if it is, like you all understand why you're not taking that path. You can also do little things like make copy changes or like write SQL. Like those things show like you're making an effort. Sometimes that can be helpful. I don't think it's the meat of the thing. Like you can do that and they can still not respect you at all. That's okay.
So you spoke a little bit about the strength of the analytics practice at Etsy, and I'm curious, like, what makes a good analytics practice at a product company, and how can we as product managers use analytics in a better way?
So that's interesting as a concept. I think the ecosystem has changed a lot since when Etsy was first building its A/B testing platform in 2011. So, but I think a lot of the pitfalls that we actually encountered later on, I think are the things that if you account for in the beginning, you can build a really great data practice. So I think you have to understand a bit about your business and what you care about, and you need to log things, and you need to log them well. So example of a thing that we messed up. For a long time, we didn't understand what our sessions were. So like we didn't know like what the denominator of the thing we were counting was. And we had a whole bunch of business assumptions around like what conversion rate meant and how it was behaving and blah, 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 blah. And then we realized that we were looking at something much different than we thought we were looking at. We had to kind of unwind everything. That happens over and over and over again, and it'll happen even in a good data practice. But questioning the data, I guess, is sort of the next thing. So, perfect world, you understand your business fully. Yay, you log everything. Yay, you watch the operation just happen, and it's a perfect funnel, and everything makes total sense, and you have a very, very simple ecosystem. That's not how software works at all. I hate to sound like a broken record, but you have to ask a lot of questions about the data that you're getting. You have to be really curious about what you're getting back. So if it's like, really positive outcomes, why? Like, why is it good? Like, what actually happened there? If it's really negative, same, like why? I think that there's a danger in data-driven development of building a thing, testing one version of it, walking away and being like, well, it worked, or well, it didn't, and not really asking any questions after that. There's also like a tendency to sort of throw everything you can at the wall, see what sticks. That you have to do sometimes, but you should limit it as much as possible. You have to learn, for sure. But once you've learned things, you can do other things. I think balancing your analytics practice with usability and softer research, market research, customer interviews. Analytics on your platform will tell you what people are doing who are on your platform. That's all it tells you. It doesn't tell you anything else. A perfect analytic system will tell you that. Most of them are not perfect, and big gaps are in the data. But it won't ever tell you what the people who aren't coming to your business are doing. It won't ever tell you why they're doing the things that they're doing. And so you have to balance your analytics practice with a multidisciplinary approach to actually understand what the data that's coming back in your A/B tests or through your usability, your user metrics, like what that actually maps to. There's a lot of good frameworks for this. Google has something called like a HEART framework. I forget what the acronym stands for. But basically the idea is you describe the thing you want to measure in the world, and then you work back from that to a metric instead of saying like, we have the metric and then we will optimize against the metric. And I think you are always going to have imperfect measurements. But if you start by thinking about why you're measuring the thing, then you can build better and better metrics over time instead of blindly optimizing against a metric.
Thanks. I actually kind of want to build off that your last answer. What are some like common? You kind of touched about it a little bit on the analytics side, but what are some common pitfalls that like a non-technical PM will run into that they should avoid?
Yeah. I think you should rely heavily on your engineers, but you shouldn't trust them blindly. I think that's a thing that non-technical PMs do. So it's like, engineer says it will take X weeks. Guess it takes X weeks. And then like, engineer comes back, oh, it looks like it's going to take 2X weeks. Oh, guess it's going to take 2X weeks. So I think like, the common pitfall there is you trust them on the estimate, or you trust that they're operating with all of the information. And I think sometimes you can fall into two modes. One is, I'm not really going to question it. They're the expert. I'm just going to relay information back to the rest of the company about why it's taking, that it is taking 2 weeks longer, or that it is too hard to implement, or that like it is too expensive to build, these kinds of things. The other thing you can do is just say work harder, work faster, work cheaper, and not ask them lots of questions about how they're building. So I think if you trust your engineers on estimates too much, then like you don't have the information that you need to help them make the trade-offs that they need to make, right? Like they might assume that one of your requirements is critically important when you just threw it in there because you thought it was a cool idea, and now they're building like a whole new architecture that's going to take 6 months and they didn't tell you. So I think that's one thing. A lot of people, I don't know if I haven't heard that much lately, but when I was earlier in my career, and I was mentoring another group of non-technical PMs who had kind of come through customer support. Everybody wanted to take a coding class, and everybody wanted to learn HTML and CSS. And I just don't think it's that useful. That's just like I just don't think it's that useful. Like if you want to learn about computers, you totally should, and you should not learn HTML and CSS. Like you should learn JavaScript or Python, or like you should take a course on database management. Like you should learn how software works, not how to make web pages. Those are different things. Yeah, I think also you can I think sometimes people fall into really like a Scrum Master role, and they're like, I want to be useful, I want to be really useful. The engineers seem to know what's going on, especially if you have really opinionated sort of product-minded engineers. They seem to know what's going on, so I'm just going to make it work for them. I think that's a thing. And then the final thing that isn't just non-technical people, but in general, people who are learning the practice, I think there's a tendency to let your stakeholders decide things for you. So instead of taking stakeholder feedback, just sort of like saying, well, the legal team said we have to do this, and the security team said we have to do this, and the guy from BizDev says this, and you just like have your like quotes from every stakeholder, and that's your product that's your product requirements list. I think you negotiate with people, right? In the same way that you're negotiating with your engineers or your designers. Like I think there's again just a tendency to sort of the backbone of all of these is like a tendency to not think you know anything. And if you don't think you know anything, you're going to go to every conversation being like, well, you probably know better than I do. And you're not going to be able to build a good product if you stay there for too long.
We're going to take one more question and then wrap it up. Do you want to grab the mic? Thanks.
Good to be the last question. Very special. Thank you for your talk.
Yeah.
Very engaging. All the answers and the Q&A has been very engaging too. So based on your excellent question, what are your thoughts on long-range planning? You know, I've read a lot of things saying, you know, there's really no point in planning past like 6 months because the market's going to change, the environment's going to change, you know, your user base might change, something will happen.
Yep.
But at the same time, you know, being a designer and then every release planning comes around, you're like, this just seems like a checklist. Like, do you guys really know what you're doing?
Yeah.
Where are we headed with this?
Yep.
So.
So one, I totally agree with the problem statement that like the market is going to change, everything is going to change. You have no idea what 6 months from now looks like. I totally disagree with the statement that means you shouldn't try to imagine what it looks like. You should definitely try to imagine what it looks like. You should imagine what it looks like in 10 years. Like, go forth with imagination and get everybody on the team to do the same thing. And then when you have the conversations in 6 months, you're, again, all operating from the same context. So it might be the case that your roadmap changes every 6 months. Lots of companies change their roadmaps every 6 months. Plenty of companies change their whole company every 6 months. But you need to know what you're deviating from, right? You can't just like walk up to every 6 months and then drop off a cliff and do it again. You need to sort of paint a course so that you can adjust. And I think a lot of technical teams are very, very uncomfortable with this. Generally, they're sort of like, if it's written down, it must happen, it will happen, and we're signing over our souls. Or, I don't even know why we're doing this is stupid. Those are like bimodal sort of reactions to this kind of thing. But I think if you build the skill, you can get people to enjoy having those like, 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, literally 10-year planning sessions where you can imagine the future, and it gives context and meaning to the work that you're doing over the next 6 months. And I think what you find most of the time is that 5-year vision or 10-year vision, that doesn't change that much actually. But like the 6-month thing does change constantly. So you're giving stability where otherwise there would be a lot of thrash by sort of painting out the future. Because maybe, yeah, the roadmap for the next 6 months changed again, but we're still going to the same place. We just changed a little bit about how we're going to get there. Does that make sense?
Jamie, thank you so much. Everyone, a round of applause.
Thank you, guys.
You're not going anywhere yet.
Oh.
We
Oh, no.
have a very exciting raffle.
Woo.
Would you do the honors and pick one of the tickets?
This is so intimidating.
Isn't it?
Everybody's going to hate me.
This is that, like, Oprah moment where you all reach under the seat.
All right, guys. 0, 4, 6, 6, 4, 1. Anybody?
Yes,
Oh,
we have a winner. You are the proud new owner of some
my.
DigitalOcean slippers. Yes,
so
you're more
jealous.
than welcome. So mentioned earlier, this is the part of the night where if you want to shout anything out, if you're looking for users for your startup, if you're looking for a job, if you're looking to hire people, now is the time to come up here, grab the mic, and give everyone else, a heads up. And I don't believe there are 0 takers. Yeah? Come on up.
Hello, my name's Mark. I'm a product manager at Patch. We're hiring. For those of you who don't know Patch, most people know us as a local news website. We're a hyper-local, community-specific website. We cover over 1,200 communities across the country. Our product team is doing some really exciting things. We're working around growth and audience development. We do a lot of things to support our awesome editorial team. We build them tools to post and share content to relevant communities, take some workload off their place through like automated content, some exciting things like that. And we're also building a user posting platform where people in their communities can create an account, post local events to our calendars, ask questions, talk to their neighbors about things that are happening in their community, post classifieds. Lost dogs is like a huge vertical for Patch. We found a lot of people's lost dogs. So it's an exciting place to be. We operate in the black. We're not like just burning through somebody's money for a couple of years. So yeah, we're hiring PMs. Our job posting on LinkedIn says junior PM, but we're hiring like all across the spectrum. I've got business cards. Come talk to me if you're interested, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Saving puppies sounds like a good opportunity.
Hi everyone, my name is Louis. By way of introduction, I was an English major from Bowdoin College, graduated in 2013. Started off my first job working as an analyst at JP Morgan, transitioned over to the tech sector 4 years ago, where I've been working at a startup called X.AI. We're building a meeting scheduling tool that uses artificial intelligence to schedule meetings. I've worked my way up to product manager there, been there for 4 years, and I'm now looking for new opportunities across product management where I can leverage my skills with machine learning, as well as my passion for tech to have more of an impact at scale. So, thanks.
I have never met anyone at X.AI. That is incredibly exciting. Amy saved my life so many times.
Hey everybody, I'm Shane Blackman. My first day in product management, I didn't even know what an API was, so I was horrendously unqualified to be a product manager at the time. Lots of empathy and awesome enthusiasm for the talk today, so thank you very much. I work at Capital One. We're trying to democratize banking and change banking for good, trying to make it affordable and accessible for everybody in this country. Super exciting mission. We're in the cloud, we have CI/CD, we're actually trying to be a real tech company, unlike a lot of other banks out there. So super exciting journey we've been on, hiring full stack engineers, mobile engineers, designers, product managers, all that good stuff. So if you want to talk, come up to me or any of my fine people. here. Yeah, excited to talk to you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Michael. I'm the UX lead at a company called Clause. We make we make software for letting people, lawyers and non-lawyers, make automated smart contracts. And Tim mentioned you can come up here if you're looking for users. So I was wondering if anyone's interested in doing user testing. It could only take like 20 minutes. Try out a new product, help us improve it. That'd be really great. So come talk to me after if you're interested. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Bilal. I'm a former founder, and I run a little venture capital thing. But I'm really interested in product management as a field, as a practice, and I've been working on this presentation. And what I'm interested in doing, if anybody is interested in honing their skills in product management, come talk to me. I'm doing these little workshops and just kind of honing the presentation itself. So I'll give you a card, or I'll just write your email, and I'll be doing these kind of ad hoc presentations. Thank you.
Cool. Venture capital thing. Interesting.
Hi, my name's David. I work for Oracle Data Cloud for a product called Moat. We measure digital ads, whether they were seen by humans or robots, how long they were on the screen for, to make sure that you're not wasting your money when you pay for ads. We're hiring product managers, engineers, technical writer, and find me if you're interested.
Thank you. One more, two more, three more. Oh, wow.
Hi, everyone. My name is Caroline. I'm an experience consultant at Salesforce. My background is in creative project management, and I actually worked at a small firm that was acquired by Salesforce 2 years ago. I am looking to go back into a more creative space and work at a company that, puts design first. I've been particularly interested in design operations. So if anyone wants to talk about that or knows any positions, let me know.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I'm a former healthcare professional. I worked at Northwell Health. I left that, took a product management course at General Assembly, which I recently completed a few months ago, and now I'm looking to transition into a startup.
I've been sort of going back and forth in my mind whether or not I want to bring this up because I hadn't thought I was going to do it. But anyway, my company is also hiring. We're looking for a couple of product managers. I work at a company called Movable Link. We do personalization and email, as well as we've recently expanded it into web and display. So we're looking for actually a PM that will be focusing more on that channel expansion / data, as well as a one who's more focused on the content side. So if anyone is interested in that or has any questions, you can catch up with me after this.
Awesome. I completely lost track of all the things. Thank you guys for those shout outs. Two more things from me. One, NPS, love it or hate it, we like it here. You will get a survey after this asking your feedback about Jamie's talk. We will share that feedback with her, sanitized if you're really mean. But in the interest of improving the event, of giving back to the product community in a meaningful way in New York, we'd really love your feedback. It really helps us iterate on this to make it as useful as possible for you guys, the wonderful folks who come out month after month. The next thing, final thing, is this time next month, and I'm blanking on the exact date. I think the 17th of May, don't quote me. If you're on our email list, you will get the email. Dirja, who is the CPO of The Skim, a email news list that you might have heard of, will be talking about building loyalty into the product. That's something that The Skim has grown incredibly quickly with very, very little kind of outreach. It's been a very kind of loyalty building, word of mouth growth trajectory. So it'll be really interesting to hear her perspective on building loyalty into the product. So if you guys are interested, check out the email, and I hope to see as many of you as possible here back at DigitalOcean this time next month. So thank you again for coming. Really appreciate it.